This guide has been inspected and approved by Luminous.
Hey guys, this is Sunsfan and welcome to the official Dota Cinema Guide to Tidehunter. If you aren't familiar with this hero, you may want to watch the introduction we did for him at the corresponding link. Tidehunter is a strength initiation hero who has one of the easiest to hit teamfight ultimates in the game. He's usually played as a support hero, but if given enough farm, he can take over a game. Skill build. There are a few builds for Tidehunter, but one thing is common throughout. Level Ravage at 6, 11, and 16. First we'll talk about the support build. You'll max Gush by 7 as it's a guaranteed slow and damage. Even though he's a melee hero, he's still considered a long-range threat, much like an Earthshaker. Typically you get one level of Kraken Shell at 2, and then forget about it until later. The reason for this is that just one level of Kraken Shell is extremely useful because of the removal of negative buffs, which is just as effective regardless of the level. The overall damage reduction is nice, but your other skills should always have a higher priority. As you can guess, you'll max Anchor Smash second. Anchor Smash is kind of like Kraken Shell in the fact that a level 1 rank is just as useful as a level 4 in certain situations. The damage and cooldown scale as you level, sure, but the 40% reduction in opponent damage is constant throughout, thus making it useful at all levels. If you're playing the farming Tidehunter, you'll still get a level 1 rank of Gush and Kraken Shell by 2. But after that, you'll max Anchor Smash, as it'll provide you a perfect farming mechanism. After that, max Gush, and follow it up with Kraken Shell. We won't officially add a third skill build for Tide, but I must mention that if you're in a situation where you're a solo against another melee hero, then it would be a good idea to get Anchor Smash right away, as it'll make last hitting for the opponent much more difficult. Item build. For starting items, getting either the courier or wards is expected if you're playing support. Aside from that, get your basic health and mana regeneration, along with branches for an eventual wand. If you're playing the farming role, no one will berate you for buying a quelling blade. Well, actually they probably still will, but just ignore their cries of anguish. For boots, treads could be considered in some cases if you feel the stats are more important, but overall arcane boots should be the choice. Tidehunter is very mana intensive and the early mana will work wonders for you. Oh, and your team, don't forget about them. It's pretty helpful for them as well. Now as far as the rest of Tidehunter's build, it doesn't really change regardless of your role. It's just a matter of if you'll have enough time to farm them or not. First thing on the list is a Blink Dagger. Tidehunter's Ravage is such a game-breaking spell that it would be a shame for you just to click R without positioning yourself properly. After that, a popular choice for professional players is a Pipe. It's a great all-around item for you and your team. Also keep in mind that if you're having survivability issues early, then go ahead and invest some gold on an early cloak before that Blink Dagger. Every item after this is considered complete luxury. A Scythe of Vice is an example of a late game item that should never be overlooked, plus it gives you some much needed mana regeneration. A Shiva's is also a good choice since it gives you great armor and overall intelligence, although there isn't any bonus mana regeneration from it. It also adds some extra punch to your initiation, as if the enormous tentacles poking heroes from the depths of the earth wasn't enough. And lastly, although it's kind of a gimmicky item, it can be truly awesome to see a Tidehunter get a refresher. Just make sure you'll have enough mana to pull it off first. Gameplay. If you're playing the support role, try to set up kills with your Gush. After you've gushed, don't just stand there being useless, block the enemies from getting away. Ice Frog gave you that fat, juicy body, so use it for what it's good for. As we touched on earlier, Anchor Smash can be a great way to prevent damage from being done, but it's also an effective harasser. But of course, this is all dependent on how many levels you're getting. But regardless of what role you play, it's of the utmost importance to hit that all-important level 6 as soon as possible. I cry just a little bit inside every time I see a Tidehunter play hardcore support and get their ultimate 20 minutes in the game. Now this isn't a free pass to not play Tide as a support, because he can still do it effectively. Just be weary of your leveling. The reason a Blink Dagger is so crucial will become more evident as the game goes on. As mentioned previously, the Kraken Shell will give you a 600 damage threshold in which all debuffs will be removed. This means that if you run to the enemy team and they perma-stun you, as long as they deal 600 damage within 6 seconds, you will become unstunned and unsilenced. This means you're basically guaranteed to get your ultimate off. But when it gets to the later stages of the game, your ultimate will not do too much if the other team sees it coming. The reason for this is 1, heroes are more mobile later in the game with items such as Force Staff to get away from sticky situations, and 2, BKBs will make Ravage completely useless. But guess what solves these issues? A Blink Dagger. The surprise factor should never be underestimated. Your role in teamfights should be obvious at this point. You're the initiation. Get that Ravage off, use your Anchor Smash on a hero who right-clicks pretty hard, and then gush someone that either needs to be slowed or someone whose armor is begging to be reduced, such as the aforementioned carry. Just remember that once you have enough mana capacity, Anchor Smash should be completely spammed in fights as its cooldown is only 4 seconds. Also, the AoE is a lot larger than people give it credit for. Friends and foes. Heroes that love to play with Tide are, well, I'm not gonna lie, it's everyone. But instead of copping out, I'll mention some heroes that would accentuate the use of the negative armor aspect of Gush. Examples of heroes that have a similar negative armor mechanic, which stacks, are Slardar, Shadow Fiend, Dazzle, and Vengeful Spirit. Heroes that Tide hates going against are those with mana burning capabilities and silences. Now keep in mind, if Tide is silenced and then damaged enough for Kraken Shell to be activated, then of course they're not counters anymore. But regardless of that, some examples of people who silence would be Death Prophet, Puck, Silencer, among many others. Mana burners would include Anti-Mage, and just to be cute, Clockwork Goblin with his very underrated cogs. I would also consider anyone that possesses a Yules to be a counter to Tidehunter, since you can just take him out of a teamfight completely. And of course this does include the Storm Panda Cyclone as well. Oh, and I forgot to mention Kunkka as a foe. Not for any counter-related reasons, Tidehunter just hates his guts. Thanks for watching, guys, and please remember to subscribe to our YouTube. Also, a big thanks to Flawless and Luminous who helped create this guide. You can check them out at their YouTube channels, which are linked in the video description. Also, be sure to check out our website at dotacinema.com. My name is SunsFan, and we love you guys.